Well, coming up in just a few moments in Arthur Ashe Stadium, our final night here on USA's 21st year as your home for America's Grand Slam. And it's the reigning champion and America's young tennis star on the male side, Andy Roddick, who will be in action. But one final chance to comment, John, about America's senior citizen, if we can say that, on the men's tennis side. Although he sure doesn't play like one. Andre Agassi fell this afternoon in 5 sets to Roger Federer. And what do you think it means for Andre? Doesn't mean anything.
I don't think it's going to mean that much. First of all, it was an unbelievable effort, and considering the difficult circumstances they played under, the fact that Andre took it to 5 sets, he should be commended for. I have every reason to believe that he could and should keep playing tennis. I mean, he's right there. He's knocking at the door. If he loves to compete as much as it seems like he loves to still compete and be out there, he's in supreme shape. He's an unbelievable asset to our sport. He played and lost to a guy who may go down as one of the greatest, if not the greatest players that ever lived. We'd like to see Andre keep playing. It was a pleasure to be part of that match.
Absolutely. And the way Andre left the court today, you had to feel that he intends to be back. Now, with the Federer-Agassi match out of the way, it is the Federer-Roddick final that most people anticipate, as we saw at Wimbledon this year. The way Andy Roddick has played so far, John, through 4 rounds here, he's on a mission to make that his goal.
I saw him play at Wimbledon in the final. I thought that was the best he ever played. He ended up losing, believe it or not, to Roger Federer. But now at 22, he's really come into his own. He's just a step above these other players, and he is playing outstanding. I mean, it's not just the power, as we pointed out. He's got that. That's a given. He's gotten himself in better shape. He moves around the court better. He's using the noggin better. He's not afraid to come to the net more. He's becoming a more complete player, and he knows that that's what he needs to do if he's going to win a second U.S. Open and beat a player of Federer's caliber.
So I'm thinking about an American against a Swede tonight. I'm thinking McEnroe against Wilander, Roddick against Johansson. Kind of strikes a similar chord, doesn't it?
This guy is a real deal. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's very funny, Ted. You still got that sense of humor. Yeah, we hit the ball like in the same pace. But this guy, if there's any guy out there that hits the ball as hard as Andy Roddick, it's this guy. You heard from Mass last night that this guy is a legitimate threat to scare Andy Roddick. Roddick knows what he's got coming tonight. There's going to be a lot of quick points. You can rest assured of that. The difference to me is 2 things. One, that he hasn't been there as often. And the second thing, he's not as good an athlete as Andy Roddick.
All right, we'll find out if Mats Wilander's assessment is accurate. Andy Roddick trying to make the semis coming up in a moment.
Yeah,
now.
Although it's getting more humid, so that is a concern. And these guys want to get this match completed tonight.
Exactly, and that's the conditions. Look at the humidity. It's going to be just like last night, where players will be dripping probably in about 4 points.
And here we go for some major heavyweight power tennis. Haven't seen that happen from Roddick, starting off a match with a double fault. Surprisingly, I've got to say, Ted, I mean, I'm hoping people are still pouring in, but a sparse crowd here for the final night match on USA.
And Roddick comes back with an ace at 135 on the IBM serve speed gun. Well, hopefully this is a late arriving New York crowd. Traditionally, through the nights of the Open, when the men come on a little later.
Well, that's the thing, is that usually there's a doubles or a ladies match, and then men don't get on to 9 o'clock. No problem whatsoever for Roddick to get to the quarters. Obviously no sets. I don't even think there was a close set.
No. 2 seeded players that he just demolished. And this is his 4th match out of 5 under the lights, something that he loves.
Well, it will be his last match under the lights unless there's rain on the weekend.
Boy, there's the first chance to see the forehand.
He gets under it well, and he can hit it with spin, as you can see, in the pace obviously there. He uses his wrist quite effectively. Doesn't look like he'll miss that shot often.
Oh, and Roddick comes back, answers the forehand winner with his second ace. He closes in on 140 as he checked. You see how he checked that reading?
Well, the wind just seemed to kick up too, and so these guys are big guys, but not a very high toss from Roddick, so that should help him.
You're right. You're right, though. That it was funny. They were getting ready to play, and it was seen still, and all of a sudden it's crept up a little bit. Brad Gilbert checking out the conditions. Now here's a young man who broke a drought last year, 2003. No Swede won a tour event on the ATP. That hadn't happened in 30 years. And Joachim Johansson won an indoor event in Memphis in February of this year. The previous week, indoor event in San Jose. Had a good run there until he faced Roddick, the only time the two of these men have ever met.
And the veteran is the next guy after Johansson, Bjorkman. They believe Soderling's going to be the real deal, and they certainly believe Johansson is. He's got to be tense though right now. By far the biggest match of his career.
6'6" and a tennis pedigree. His father, Leif Johansson, played a couple of years on the ATP tour and was a Davis Cup player for Sweden.
Really?
In 1974, Leif Johansson played #2 singles for Sweden in Davis Cup behind a young, brash kid by the name of Bjorn Borg.
That person I've heard of.
And they made
Kjell Johansson I've heard of.
Leif Johansson. And they made the semis. Sweden made the semis in Davis Cup that year. And the two Johanssons playing right now are not related. Thomas, who won the Australian Open, and Joachim, not related.
Johansson, this Johansson here, Joachim, was unable to play the Davis Cup match in the quarters. Apparently shoulder problems kept him out and made life easier for my brother, Davis Cup captain, to have Johansson unavailable, sadly, for a coach we saw here last night, Mats Wilander.
First ace. And more aces, unbelievably 20 more than Roddick.
Surprising. Tim in the semis, #2. That's impressive. Semis and second and ace. That is a tough serve to return.
Now, one other issue there is that Andy hasn't played real long.
No,
So
he's played a lot less.
Right.
That was 137, and it looked like it hit both lines. Oh, caught the outs. Oh, maybe I'm seeing things too fast. He's tight right now, and he's not particularly quick around the court. He can't afford to be lazy. Like, he's just reached out for that forehand there.
He's already made 4 errors, Johansson, off the forehand.
It's a hit-miss match with Johansson. You hear that wind starting to pick up. It's going to make life difficult for him. There's another weak play.
Well, we heard Mats Wilander last night with us during the Mac phone segment. He said if Johansson played his game, he thought Mats thought Johansson would win.
Which is going to be difficult to do. He did add in this situation.
Right.
Now with these conditions, even more difficult. His footwork favors someone who was in these conditions like they are now. The better athlete's going to help. I mean, I think you saw how well Hewitt played in this afternoon under those conditions. Incredibly well, I thought. And Roddick has improved his foot speed. He's going to have to hit a mountain of aces, which he probably will do. Any indication coming into this match.
Third ace. The winner plays Leighton Hewitt. Which adds another twist to the story. Joakim Johansson's girlfriend for the last several years is Leighton Hewitt's sister.
That's right. So probably in a way he's hoping to play Roddick. Doesn't want to lose to the sister's boyfriend. See that ball spinning wickedly into Roddick's body. We'll also see a lot of forehand winners today. He lines it up properly. Gets his feet in position.
Well, that's what you talked about, Johnny. How he holds his serve. A bunch, 4 aces in that first game.
Well, we know 3 of the 4 semifinalists. Now we're going to wait to see who Leighton Hewitt will play. Let's just hope they get this match in.
Talk about form. If Roddick wins, it's the 1, 2, 4, and 5 seeds in the semis. That is what we've been conditioned to see with the women, not necessarily with the men.
30.
Roddick is obviously in form. Hewitt is in form. Neither have dropped a set. Federer found a way to win. It just shows you how much he's maturing and playing so well in the big matches and points.
40.
And Henman's had a great year in the majors.
The only top seed out was Carlos Moya. What did it look like, Andy?
Just threw the curveball.
Yeah, right. The wind really whipping now. How short that was.
He did not. I mean, for him, that's unheard of. 100 miles an hour. The crowd does not know what to make of this so far. They've been quite content to sit on the derrieres and wait it out for a while.
So there's a hold of serve. So we begin this quarter. Both players holding. He has
20 something, or we'll find out. 22. I mean, it's some incredible amount.
Just say 138.
Yeah,
Sounds good. Chris Evert, 18 championships.
Is that
nice
all?
to see, Chris. I thought you won the French 18 times.
Exactly. So much for that win not being a factor.
11-15.
Those are being promoted as entrants in the Andre Agassi lookalike contest. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know.
Maybe on the right.
There's certain similarities.
Well, Johansson is 6'6", and you can see he doesn't cheat himself. I mean, he smacks it.
Who's she rooting for?
It's Jaslyn Hewitt.
She's going to want her boyfriend to win here, and then what happens in the semis? Leighton Hewitt's mom on the left there. Now what happens if Joachim wins this? What Johansson can do effectively is hit that forehand with depth and power to Roddick's back, but he can also hit it short outside the court and force Roddick maybe to go for more than he wants to. He was content to stay behind the baseline and wait for his forehand. And Johansson can hurt him with that top spin he uses well. It's tougher to hit or you have to basically go for the winner if it's a shorter and off the court. And then that opens the door for Johansson to hit winners to the open court.
So it's 2-all. Showed you Chris Evert. It triggers my mind that just before we came back on the air for the night shows, you see Johansson losing only 1 set en route. Martina Navratilova's U.S. Open came to an end.
Did she lose that mixed doubles?
Martina and Leander Paes were beaten in the super tiebreak of mixed doubles.
They have a super tiebreak again.
By Alicia Malik and Todd Woodbridge.
That's on the line. So is that the end for her? You think she said this is her last Open?
Well, that's I think
we've heard that before.
Yes, I think that's open to debate. I've heard varying versions of that.
She will be 48, I believe, soon.
Yes.
Very soon. Court's got a different color down there. I don't know if it's slippery, but it sure looks like it is up here.
Right where Johansson is standing, that corner of the court. Well, the drying perhaps has taken a little bit of a toll. They scraped a lot of the layers of paint off the courts for this year's Open in an attempt to help it dry faster. They felt last year that with all the extra layers of paint that built up through the years, they were absorbing water.
That looks slippery. I mean, it's not going to affect the speed of the court, but it's certainly going to affect the player's movement. I hope I'm wrong. Well, that's power in that backhand as well. He really stepped in.
30 all.
He did something that was interesting. He just hit a one-handed short ball. That's probably because Johnny's got a one-handed backhand. Yeah, but he forced Roddick in, and he's got a chance to break.
We're getting a little explanation from our crew members that there may be a little bit of an oil spill from one of the drying machines last night. That's what gives the corner of the court that you're going to see here in the front of your picture that look.
I don't even remember Roddick being broken. There it is.
Wow, and a double fault. And that gives Johansson the first set lead.
Yep.
It is starting to rain, and that's going to stop play. Just as they were ready to begin.
Fortunate.
Yep. Brian Early, the tournament referee, comes out. Johansson was the guy that walked. Roddick standing out there.
Roddick's still out there waiting, but I mean they're not going to be able to play right now.
Brian Early, tournament referees, came out and motioned the players, and this is because the U.S.
A little while to get the courts dry, but a nice quick job, and here they are. Andy Roddick, by the way, showered and changed into the 12th one of those Subway map shirts that he has.
Oh, that was I guess that's unfortunately the good luck charm as we go forward.
Well, they'll get a little knock up here, as they'd say over in England.
But we have some live tennis. And now Andy's had a chance to regroup because he looked a little uptight out there early in this match. Now he's got time to gather his thoughts and see if he can get himself back in this first set.
Johansson should not surprise him, right? Because they played earlier this year.
They played earlier this year. He knows his game. He knows what he's got. But the conditions were tough, and this is a big match for him. Let's face it, he's trying to defend his title. He wants to prove that he can maybe end the year at #1. That's a tall task with what Federer has done, but and a long shot. But let's start with winning this match in the U.S. Open, he says.
Right. I remember for years and years doing this, and you say, man, sometimes it'd be good for a player to get tested before they reach that final weekend. And I've come to believe, I don't believe that's true. Now, did you feel that way as a
Guys would be more than happy to win all the matches in straight sets. You know, the first year I won, I only won 1 set. I got defaults and people falling over. Do people remember how easy I had it that year? I don't think so. I was down in the President's Suite. You'll be happening on Ted, trying to find Arlen Cantarian. Just a little discussion about, you know, perhaps that roof issue a little bit again. Now that
is that right?
We just
well.
Keep it open, you know, keep it open for discussion because, you know, we don't want much delays in these big matches.
Actually, Arlen Cantarian does have drawings here at the National Tennis Center of a canopy, a sliding canopy. And if you're familiar at all with Safeco Field in Seattle, the baseball stadium out there, it'd be something similar to that, where it would basically be a sliding roof that would protect the court from moisture but would not keep the temperature.
I have drawings of me in a rock and roll band. You know, that doesn't mean it's going to happen, okay? At the moment, I think there's about the same odds.
Jumpsuits?
Yeah. What do you, like Devo?
Or Jagger? I was thinking.
I got to start running like 15 miles a day.
Yeah. All right, well, there's Andy Roddick. And that's a pretty determined look on his face.
That is well put. I mean, he really looks like a different guy out there. He sort of, to me, was surprisingly loose. I mean, he started off the match with a double fault, which is already surprising. We're so used to hit him in a big ace, and he gave Johansson the break with a double fault. So he's got some work to do here.
And this is where, and we talked about this a lot at Wimbledon this year, John, that the Brad Gilbert factor comes into play because, you know, during the rain delay, Andy can have Brad there working with him, strategy, pump up whatever Brad feels Andy needs.
Well, this is where he gets paid the big bucks for, and let's see if Andy comes out with a little bit different idea of how to approach this. I think he's got to make this a more physical match and a more athletic match. He's got to get Johansson on the run more. I mean, he likes to get himself a little bit of time to get set. He's perfectly content to play some short points and dictate them when they get a little bit longer, and he's got to step it up a little bit here. So far, he's been surprisingly tame. Now, maybe the conditions, it was a bit windy out there, and maybe he...
All right, final moments here of the warm-up before we resume with Joachim Johansson up a break. Only the second time Andy Roddick's serve has been broken in the United States Open. Roddick had only lost 27 games in his first 4 matches.
I'm trying to see if Roddick, as I said, he was trying to get the #1 ranking potential. I'm not sure it's even possible if he wins this and pretty much the end of the rest of the year. The way Federer has played this year and has already done a couple rounds better and is in the semis. It's certainly not going to stop him from trying to become the first man since Patrick Rafter in 1998 to successfully defend his title.
Well, it's a little weird thing because on the ladies' side right now, unless Lindsay Davenport wins the U.S. Open, Amelie Mauresmo will be #1. And again, you know, the computer can tell you what they want, but there isn't a fan on earth that would believe that Amelie Mauresmo is the #1 player.
Not even Mauresmo would believe that. And after a delay of, what, approximately an hour or so, we're back with some live tennis. Johansson up a break.
Delay is 55 minutes, and immediately
That's an excellent play by Johansson. I like to see that. I don't remember him coming in and being aggressive. I thought I heard Roddick break a string, but he didn't seem to be in any rush to get to the net after breaking it. And now he's upset. I think he just saw some people moving during the point.
Okay, he was staring at something as he walked. I couldn't tell if it was Johansson or.
I don't know. I picked Andy to win this, and I still would pick him to win this match. But this is by far the most uptight I've seen him in a match. Johansson has gotten to him a little bit early here. That's on the line. Johansson's at pretty much a career high. He's gotten to as high as 29, 30 currently. I mean, he's going to move up in the rankings, win or lose.
And this is a fellow who started the year 113 in the world.
Born the same day as my brother, 21 years old. 22 now, July 1st. That's what he's got to get Johansson to do and be on the run. And it's decided as to Roddick and the movement around the court. He's got to pull Johansson off the court. And then there's such an opening there for him. Easier said than done.
And Johansson blasts 5th ace, 136. The IBM reading. So it's 4-2 for the Swede. And remember that next weekend, golf takes over here on USA. Opening ceremonies Thursday at 5 p.m. And then first day coverage of the Ryder Cup live at 8 a.m. Eastern 1 week from tomorrow here on USA. And of course, it'll be followed by weekend coverage on NBC.
He's got a nice looking slice backhand, I must say. Very impressive. First time I saw him was last year at the Australian where Marty Fish beat him. He made more of an impact this year.
Roddick goes wide for the ace. It looks like this delay brings the players back with a little better condition. John, the air seems a little lighter. The wind has died down. Well, I was
spoke a little, soon, but it is less than it was. That's for sure.
It doesn't seem to be on the court right now what it was at the beginning of this set.
Johansson did win a couple rounds this year down under. Lost to Ferrero in a close match.
And Roddick with a hole. So we're back in action. And Joachim Johansson trying to hold out his serve twice and capture this first set. The only set he's lost in the Open so far was in a tiebreak. That was to Stefan Kubek. And this is the kind of match you envision beforehand would be tiebreaks. But Roddick's going to have to break a serve to get to a tiebreak.
If anything, you would have thought that Johansson would have been the more uptight of the two and been a bit overwhelmed early in the match.
Well, there he just hit his fastest.
Just only 139. What's wrong? I mean, these guys aren't in the 140s yet. Doing a pretty good job of serving so far as Johansson. 3 out of 4 serves are going in at that pace.
Well, hold it, love. And it's 5-3 for Johansson.
There's Eric Heiden, old buddy of mine. 5 gold medals, 1980 Olympics. His wife Karen. He also inducted me, Ted, in the Hall of Fame 5 years ago. So he's always a special place in my heart for Eric, who's now a doctor, orthopedic doctor, Sacramento. It's a good effort, isn't it?
It's a pretty good. It's a great effort, and Andy being bothered by some fans again right behind him.
Not too many athletes I know that succeed as mightily as he did in his profession. Was in the Tour de France once also, and then become a doctor. A lot of work. Pay your dues. Baldwin wants to come out to the tennis, and he's getting closer to his prize. Nominated for the Academy Award this year.
So Roddick with his 6th ace.
It's like getting to the finals and not winning. So let's go back to the drawing board next year. Not a lot of rallying going on.
No, this is right now. This is the way you thought these two would play. The only difference is Roddick has been broken. There's another easy game. We'll return and see if Johansson can close out the first set.
Johansson leads 5-4.
So here's Joachim Johansson serving for the first set.
There's where he looked to be a little sluggish. He leaned one way and there was no position to volley this ball. It's a good deep approach shot. He did not look to be prepared there. That's big.
That forehand is, this is really Roddick seeing a lot of what he dishes out to people.
Yeah, he's got a lot of racket speed too. He hits with he can really use that wrist effectively. He can flatten the ball out, but when he needs to play it a little safer but still swing hard, he uses the wrist. He looks confident that he's going to hit the ball in the court every time. Serve was 130. It looked faster than that.
Exactly what I was thinking. Up the middle. 7 aces for each man in this first set.
Difference is Johansson has yet to double fall. Roddick lost his serve on one. Now we can see a little bit more of why Mats Wilander was talking this guy up.
Absolutely. 2 set points. Look where Roddick is. But John, the point started with Roddick actually backing up almost to the wall. It seemed like the second serve.
We saw that off him last year. He would move back on the second serve return. And this is what he wants to do. He's got to get this guy in some extended rallies and use his superior athletic ability. The problem with standing that far back is that guy can come up with an angle. He can take a little bit off it. It's a smart serve by Johansson. And spins away from Roddick. That's almost impossible shot to return.
What a great return.
And he pulled an Agassi there. He used his opponent's pace, just blocked it back, and came back a lot faster than Johansson thought it was. He might try that slice serve out wide again. It's just nothing you can do there. 138-mile-per-hour serve. And he hit behind his service line. Johansson's so tall. Guy looks younger than 22, doesn't he? He's eager. That's what you said a couple minutes ago, Ted. That's what Roddick's used to doing to his opponents.
Sitting here thinking, did we ever imagine we'd see a Swedish version of Andy Roddick?
Certainly seeing it now.
The point you talked about that Roddick wanted to play. And what a